In a world where emotions run high and external validation dictates self-worth, a Stoic man walks a different path. He understands that true strength lies not in seeking approval or sharing every thought and feeling, but in mastering his mind, actions, and emotions. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control people, circumstances, or how others perceive us. What we can control, however, is how we respond to life's challenges, how we carry ourselves in relationships, and what we choose to reveal or conceal. This philosophy isn't about deception, it's about discipline. It's about protecting your peace, maintaining your dignity, and ensuring your inner world remains yours alone. In this video, we'll explore 8 crucial things a man must always keep to himself when dealing with a woman. These aren't secrets meant to manipulate or create distance. Instead, they are pillars of self-mastery, guiding principles that allow a man to remain composed, independent, and unshaken no matter the situation. By the end of this video, you'll understand why a Stoic man guards these aspects of himself, how doing so cultivates quiet power, and how this approach leads to stronger, more fulfilling relationships. Let's dive in. The art of discretion. What a man should keep to himself. In relationships, what a man chooses to withhold is as important as what he shares. Discretion reflects self-mastery, dignity, and emotional strength. Rather than burdening his partner with constant emotional distress or financial insecurities, a man should process challenges independently and only share when it strengthens the connection. A man should keep past romantic experiences to himself. His partner is interested in how he loves her, not others. Likewise, personal insecurities and doubts should be handled internally. A man exudes strength, not by avoiding doubt, but by pushing through it with resolve. Financial struggles should not be constantly expressed but addressed through action. Women value a man's ambition and resilience, not his fears. Similarly, a man's vision for the future should be demonstrated through steady progress rather than constant discussion. Discretion about past emotional pain is key. A woman wants a man who is defined by his present strength, not by past wounds. Finally, while self-sufficiency is attractive, a man should avoid distancing himself emotionally, allowing space for connection without complete detachment. A man who masters discretion naturally earns respect and builds a strong relationship rooted in mutual admiration and emotional strength. 1. A man must hide his weaknesses. In relationships, particularly with women, many overlook a principle: the ability to maintain composure in times of hardship. The Stoic man embraces self-sufficiency and emotional resilience and doesn't seek sympathy or pity from others. He doesn't lay his burdens at the feet of his wife or partner. True strength lies in how a man faces adversity, and the essence of his character is revealed not in moments of ease, but in his response to life's most challenging situations. A man of true character doesn't let external challenges define him. Rather than allowing personal difficulties to consume him, he uses these experiences as opportunities for growth and self-improvement. He faces him with patience, endurance, and resilience when life throws him curveballs. Whether work stress, a personal loss, or a relationship struggle, the Stoic man handles it with quiet dignity. His approach isn't to complain or lean on others for validation, but to confront life head-on, knowing that every challenge has the potential for moral refinement. This approach is rooted in 3 key Stoic principles that govern his emotional life: endurance, self-sufficiency, and silence as strength. Endurance and resilience. The Stoic man knows that pain and difficulty are part of the human experience. Instead of retreating into despair, he meets these hardships with fortitude. He doesn't seek an escape or a way to avoid pain, but instead chooses to endure with grace. This endurance is not passive. It's an active decision to carry on despite the weight of the world pressing down. When times get tough, a Stoic man doesn't become a victim of circumstances. He rises above them. Self-sufficiency. This principle is about not relying on others to feel strong. A Stoic man doesn't seek validation or reassurance from those around him. Whether it's from a partner, a friend, or family, he doesn't turn to others for confirmation of his worth or strength. Instead, he finds validation within himself. He cultivates a sense of inner peace that isn't swayed by the opinions or judgments of others. This self-sufficiency extends beyond emotional independence. A belief that a man can handle what life throws at him, relying on his resourcefulness, strength, and wisdom. Silence as strength. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of the Stoic approach is the power of silence. The Stoic man doesn't burden others with his struggles or complaints. He maintains an inner composure that allows him to endure challenges privately and without fanfare. By choosing not to share every problem, he conveys strength, not weakness. Women are often drawn to men who can maintain a sense of emotional stability and handle life's ups and downs with dignity. The Stoic man's silence isn't a sign of weakness or detachment, but of an unshakable inner strength that doesn't need to be validated by others. There's a deep wisdom in understanding that challenges are growth opportunities. When a man chooses to face adversity with patience and endurance, he doesn't just overcome it. He emerges more assertive, resilient, and grounded. Women value a partner who can navigate life's challenges without succumbing to weakness or emotional volatility. A Stoic man's ability to endure difficulties quietly makes him an anchor in the storm, someone who provides stability for himself and those around him. The key takeaway is this: challenges are an inevitable part of life, but how a man responds to them reveals his true character. Women are drawn to men with the emotional maturity and strength to handle hardships gracefully. Instead of seeking sympathy or emotional validation, the Stoic man turns inward, trusting his resilience and ability to weather any storm. In this way, silence becomes a powerful tool of self-mastery and a testament to his strength. 2. A man must hide his mistakes. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life. No one is exempt from making them. However, how a man handles his mistakes can make all the difference, particularly in how they are perceived in relationships. For many men, the instinct is to confess, apologize, or dwell on mistakes, especially when it involves a woman. However, a Stoic man understands that mistakes are growth opportunities, not moments to be shared indiscriminately. The Stoic perspective on mistakes offers valuable insight into how a man can navigate errors in a way that reflects maturity, responsibility, and emotional intelligence. First and foremost, a Stoic man takes personal responsibility for his actions. Rather than blaming others or allowing himself to become overwhelmed with self-blame, he focuses on how he can learn from the experience. This perspective is vital in relationships, as it will enable him to maintain control over his emotions and avoid creating unnecessary drama by venting or seeking sympathy. Mistakes should be analyzed rationally for their lessons, not treated as burdens that need to be shared or broadcast. This does not mean hiding or suppressing mistakes. Reflecting on what went wrong, understanding the root cause, and using the experience to grow. A man who can calmly analyze his mistakes without falling into self-pity or blame demonstrates emotional maturity, a beautiful quality in any relationship. Humility plays a significant role in this process. A Stoic man doesn't make excuses for his mistakes. Instead, he approaches them humbly, acknowledging where he went wrong and taking the necessary steps to correct them. This humility doesn't extend to wallowing in guilt or despair, but rather to resolving to improve. When a man admits and corrects his faults with genuine effort and perseverance, he builds trust and respect in his relationships. It's also important to recognize that mistakes should not define a person. It is not the mistake that shapes us, but how we respond. Epictetus famously stated, "It is not things that happen to us that trouble us, but our opinions about them." This means that a man's emotional response to his mistakes ultimately affects his well-being and the quality of his relationships. A Stoic man takes this wisdom to heart, viewing errors as stepping stones on his path of growth and development. In relationships, this perspective is critical. While it's natural to want to share vulnerabilities with a partner, constantly discussing or seeking validation for past mistakes can create a sense of insecurity or emotional instability. A woman is drawn to a man who can confidently acknowledge his shortcomings without letting them define him. By keeping his emotions in check and focusing on solutions rather than dwelling on the problem, a man shows he is not easily shaken by adversity. Take, for example, a situation where a man has made a mistake at work that affects his relationship. Instead of immediately seeking sympathy or explaining every detail to his partner, a Stoic man reflects on the situation privately, takes responsibility for his actions, and focuses on finding a solution. When he shares the problem with his partner, he communicates not from a place of shame but strength and resolve, showing her that he is actively working toward a solution and is not defined by his errors. A Stoic approach to relationship mistakes also involves recognizing that personal growth is a constant process. No one is perfect, and setbacks will inevitably occur. However, a man who embraces mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow creates a dynamic of respect and admiration in his relationships. He is committed to becoming a better version of himself, for his own sake and those he cares about. In conclusion, handling mistakes with wisdom and composure is essential to emotional maturity. By embracing mistakes as learning opportunities, a Stoic man maintains control over his emotions and avoids unnecessary drama. His ability to reflect, learn, and grow from mistakes without letting them define him or his relationships makes him a strong, attractive partner. Ultimately, not our mistakes matter, but how we respond to them. 3. A man must hide his dreams. In pursuing one's ambitions, a man must maintain privacy and composure about his dreams. This Stoic approach to aspirations is not rooted in seeking external validation, but in cultivating inner drive and self-sufficiency. Dreams, while significant, should not be shared to seek approval from others. The actual value of one's goals lies not in how they are perceived by the world, but in the fulfillment they bring from within. The principle of Stoicism reminds us that happiness is not found in the opinions of others, but in the quality of our thoughts. A man who is truly confident in his purpose does not need the approval or acknowledgement of others to validate his dreams. Instead, he focuses on goals that are realistic and within his control. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its emphasis on autonomy, pursuing personal fulfillment without depending on external rewards or recognition. A man who follows this philosophy recognizes that true success is not about what others think of his achievements, but how deeply he believes in his journey. There is an inner satisfaction in the quiet pursuit of ambition, knowing that each step taken brings him closer to the person he is destined to be. He does not need to announce his goals to the world to feel validated. His progress speaks for itself. This concept extends beyond just career goals or personal milestones. It encompasses the way a man navigates relationships and life in general. He does not seek applause or recognition for his efforts. Instead, he focuses on the process, building character, resilience, and purpose with each challenge he faces. His dreams are not made to be paraded or flaunted, but to be lived out with quiet determination. This Stoic approach can also translate into emotional maturity for men in relationships. Rather than constantly seeking validation or external recognition from a partner, a man should focus on being steadfast in his journey, supporting his partner, and growing together without relying on external praise. Essentially, a man must hide his dreams, not because he is ashamed of them, but because their true power lies in the internal drive that propels them. The happiness and satisfaction that come from achieving his goals are not contingent upon the approval of others. Still, they are instead rooted in his ability to stay grounded, focused, and authentic to himself. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. The recognition that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and in the pursuit of your dreams, you must remain true to yourself, free from the need for validation. 4. A man must hide his feelings. A Stoic man knows his emotions, but refuses to let them control his actions. He understands that emotions are not enemies to be suppressed, but valuable tools for self-awareness and growth. Emotional control doesn't mean denying how he feels, but instead managing those feelings with wisdom and intention. This ability to regulate emotions and express them thoughtfully makes a man strong, especially in relationships. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept up by the tides of emotion, whether it's the thrill of a new relationship or the frustration of a disagreement. However, a Stoic man knows that his feelings should not dictate his responses or define his actions. Instead of acting impulsively when anger or excitement rises, he takes a moment to breathe, reflect, and choose how to react. His emotional intelligence allows him to engage with the world calmly and composedly. It's important to distinguish between understanding and suppressing emotions. While many men try to bury their feelings to avoid vulnerability, this can lead to emotional repression, which ultimately harms their well-being. On the other hand, a Stoic man acknowledges his emotions, but ensures they don't govern his choices. He understands that feeling deeply is a natural part of life, but that emotions must be processed and released thoughtfully, not acted upon in haste. This brings us to the concept of discretion. A Stoic man does not express his emotions indiscriminately. He is mindful of the right time and place to share his feelings. In relationships, especially with women, oversharing or expressing overwhelming emotions too early can be a turnoff. Instead of immediately spilling out every frustration or joy, he chooses when and how to express himself, ensuring his responses are always rational, deliberate, and aligned with his values. This approach allows him to maintain control over how others perceive him while keeping his inner peace. The balance between reason and emotion is crucial for a man in any relationship. Emotions are not to be ignored or suppressed. They are tools for understanding oneself better and navigating the complexities of life. However, they must be balanced with reason and logic. A man who can think clearly while feeling profound is a man who demonstrates maturity and wisdom. He knows when to listen to his heart and when to listen to his mind, making decisions that reflect both his feelings and his values. Mindfulness plays a key role in this balance. Awareness of one's thoughts and feelings in the present moment allows a man to respond to situations calmly and clearly, even when emotional triggers arise. This mindfulness practice helps a man remain grounded and prevent his feelings from overwhelming or clouding his judgment. In relationships, this emotional awareness allows him to respond to his partner's needs and feelings with empathy without losing his sense of self. Being stoic does not mean being unemotional or detached. A man who is emotionally intelligent and controlled is capable of experiencing emotions more fully and expressing them more meaningfully. The key is that he does so with intention rather than letting emotions drive his actions. When a man can hold space for his feelings while staying composed, he shows strength, maturity, and emotional depth that fosters trust and respect in relationships. For example, a stoic man doesn't react angrily or frustrated when faced with conflict. Instead, he takes a moment to assess the situation, recognize his emotions, and approach the issue calmly and clearly. This measured response prevents escalation and shows his partner that he values the relationship enough to approach problems respectfully. In relationships with women, emotional control is significant. Women are often more sensitive to emotional dynamics and appreciate men who can stay grounded even in challenging situations. When a man can express his emotions calmly and intelligently, he fosters an environment of emotional safety and stability. This makes the relationship feel secure and allows both partners to grow and communicate more effectively. In conclusion, emotional control is not about suppressing or denying emotions, but understanding, regulating, and expressing them with wisdom. A stoic man uses his emotional intelligence to engage with life's challenges and relationships in a composed, thoughtful manner. His ability to balance reason with emotion creates a sense of stability and respect, both for himself and those around him. When a man masters his feelings, he doesn't just improve his relationships, he improves his life. 5. A man must hide his secrets. A man's ability to keep his thoughts and feelings private is crucial to his dignity and personal strength. In relationships, particularly with women, the temptation to reveal everything or expose all can be overwhelming. Still, the ability to maintain a sense of privacy is what truly defines emotional maturity and self-respect. Privacy matters because it safeguards the sanctity of one's inner world. Not everything in a person's life should be shared, especially when it involves personal values, past experiences, or deeply held beliefs. These aspects of life are not for public consumption. They are the core of a man's identity. Sharing every detail can not only strip away this sacredness, but also diminish the respect others have for him. To a woman, a man who can protect his inner world presents himself as confident and composed. He holds his thoughts with the same respect he would have a rare and valuable treasure. This kind of behavior is grounded in integrity and trust. When a man keeps his secrets, he demonstrates reliability, consistency, and the ability to maintain boundaries. Qualities that are deeply attractive to a woman. A man who does not betray confidence and keeps his inner world disciplined is a man who commands respect and admiration. In relationships, emotional intimacy is built over time, and trust plays a pivotal role. A woman who sees that a man is disciplined in the way he protects his thoughts and feelings will trust him more. This trust grows because she understands that, despite the connection and the deep conversations, there are parts of him that are reserved and private. This mystery and respect for personal boundaries create a stronger emotional connection. A man who shares everything too soon or seeks validation through his vulnerabilities may risk overwhelming or unsettling the woman in his life. By contrast, the man who is strategic with what he shares maintains an air of intrigue that invites a deeper, more respectful connection. The Stoic approach to privacy, as embraced by many throughout history, is rooted in the understanding that a person's thoughts and reflections are sacred. It's not that a man should never share his feelings. Instead, he should be selective and measured about what he reveals and when. This selective disclosure allows for a deeper, more meaningful connection to form. A man who opens up too quickly may lose his sense of self, leaving him vulnerable or ungrounded. The philosopher Cicero once said, "The most sacred thing in the world is the human soul." This perspective emphasizes that there are parts of ourselves that should be shielded from the public eye. A man must manage his inner world with discipline, allowing only those he trusts most to see the entirety of his being. This practice ensures that he remains true to himself and safeguards the integrity of the relationship. A man who practices privacy also models emotional maturity in dating and relationships. He knows when to listen, when to speak, and when to withdraw. This balance keeps him grounded, ensuring his sense of self remains intact while allowing for a healthy emotional exchange with others. By keeping some secrets and respecting his inner world, a man demonstrates his emotional intelligence, respect for himself, and commitment to maintaining the integrity of his relationship. For men, protecting your secrets doesn't mean being emotionally distant or closed off. It means understanding the power of privacy and knowing that not every aspect of your life needs to be shared. Protecting your most sacred thoughts and reflections, building trust through actions rather than oversharing, and maintaining a disciplined approach to your inner world. Doing so allows you to grow in strength, mystery, and emotional depth, while creating a more meaningful connection with the woman in your life. 6. A man must hide his pains. Pain is an inevitable part of life. Every man will face it in some form through personal loss, failure, or unforeseen challenges. However, how a man responds to pain often defines his character and shapes his relationships. In the philosophy of Stoicism, pain is not something to be avoided or feared, but rather an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. A Stoic man does not let pain define him. He meets it with endurance, resilience, and grace, using it to build strength within himself and in his relationships. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the ability to endure hardship without seeking sympathy or relief. The Stoic man understands that pain, while uncomfortable, is part of the human experience and must be faced with patience. Rather than wallowing in self-pity or seeking comfort from others, he accepts pain as a test of his character and inner fortitude. He does not use his pain as an excuse to falter or lose composure, but instead views it as a challenge to overcome, a chance to refine his character and strengthen his resolve. This approach requires emotional discipline, which many men struggle to achieve. It is natural to want to seek sympathy, to ask others for help, or to hope for some form of relief from the suffering we experience. Yet the Stoic man understands that genuine growth does not come from avoiding pain or numbing it with distractions. Actual growth comes from embracing pain and using it as a catalyst for personal transformation. He reframes his pain as an opportunity for improvement, a chance to become stronger and more resilient. This mindset can be mighty, not only in personal development, but also in relationships. A Stoic man does not let his pain bleed into his interactions with others. He carries it with dignity, knowing that his struggles are his own. He does not burden others with his emotional turmoil or expect them to fix what cannot be fixed. Instead, he he seeks to maintain his composure, recognizing that his strength during difficult times will only make him more attractive and reliable in the eyes of others. For example, when a man faces a personal challenge, a setback at work, a relationship issue, or a loss, he does not immediately lash out in frustration or anger. Instead, he takes time to process his emotions internally, reframing the pain as an opportunity to grow. He uses this time to reflect on what the situation can teach him and how to improve. By doing so, he remains grounded and composed, giving himself the space to heal while maintaining his integrity and sense of self. Moreover, the Stoic man's ability to handle pain gracefully often profoundly impacts those around him. His steady presence can be a source of stability for others, particularly in times of crisis. When others witness his calm in the face of adversity, they are more likely to respect and admire him. This emotional strength can make him an even more reliable partner, friend, or leader. It is a trait that inspires trust and admiration and builds more profound connections with those fortunate enough to be part of his life. Yet, it is essential to note that the Stoic approach to pain does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected by hardship. Instead, it is about acknowledging the pain, processing it privately, and using it as a stepping stone toward personal development. A Stoic man is not immune to pain. Instead, he is immune to letting pain dictate his actions. He recognizes that suffering is temporary, but the lessons learned through endurance and resilience last a lifetime. This ability to handle pain without becoming overwhelmed or seeking constant reassurance can be particularly appealing in relationships. A woman, for example, is likely to find strength in a man who does not lean on her for emotional support during every trial, but instead handles his struggles with dignity. She is drawn to his ability to remain composed and his capacity for growth, knowing that such qualities indicate a man capable of facing challenges head-on and growing stronger from them. His approach to pain signals maturity, emotional intelligence, and a solid sense of self, a foundation upon which any healthy relationship can thrive. At the same time, the Stoic man also understands that pain can be a shared experience. While he may not seek sympathy or attention, he knows that relationships involve mutual support and understanding. When the time comes for vulnerability, he can share his experiences with a partner honestly yet composedly, allowing for a deeper emotional connection without losing his sense of self. This balance is key in fostering trust and emotional safety within a relationship, as both partners can support each other without relying on one another to solve their struggles. Ultimately, the Stoic man's approach to pain is not about avoiding discomfort, but transforming it into a tool for growth. By facing pain with endurance and fortitude, reframing it as an opportunity for self-improvement, and maintaining emotional discipline, he becomes a stronger, more resilient individual and a more reliable and attractive partner. This is the essence of true masculinity, the ability to face life's inevitable challenges with grace, dignity, and unwavering strength. 7. A man must hide his pleasures. Pleasure is an inherent part of the human experience, and while it is not inherently bad, how one approaches and controls pleasure is crucial in shaping one's character and relationships. A man who masters his pleasures cultivates a sense of self-discipline, which not only elevates his personal life, but also makes him more attractive and dependable in the eyes of others, especially in intimate relationships. From a Stoic perspective, the key to enjoying life's pleasures without being consumed by them lies in moderation and self-discipline. Excessive indulgence, no matter the form, be it in food, alcohol, entertainment, or even romantic relationships, can quickly erode self-control and disrupt emotional balance. When a man allows pleasure to dictate his actions, he risks losing his sense of purpose and direction. True freedom, as the Stoics would argue, comes not from the pursuit of unchecked desires, but from the ability to control them. This wisdom is embodied in the words of Epictetus, who famously stated, "Freedom is not procured by full enjoyment of desires, but by controlling them." For a Stoic man, this means enjoying pleasures in a responsible, balanced way that does not compromise his values or sense of integrity. The ability to abstain or delay gratification is a powerful tool for achieving long-term fulfillment and success. By not allowing himself to be ruled by fleeting desires, he maintains control over his emotions and actions, ultimately making him a more grounded and capable partner. A man who seeks to embody this philosophy does not avoid pleasures altogether, but understands their place in his life. He enjoys the good things that come his way, but does so with intention and awareness. He does not give in to every temptation or act impulsively based on immediate gratification. Instead, he assesses whether indulging in a particular pleasure aligns with his long-term goals and values. If it does, he enjoys it responsibly. If not, he exercises the self-discipline to walk away. In relationships, this sense of moderation and self-control is beautiful. A man who can balance his desires with his partner's needs and expectations demonstrates a maturity that fosters respect and trust. By not being overly consumed by pursuing personal pleasure, he creates space for deeper, more meaningful connections. A woman is more likely to feel secure in a relationship with a man who understands the importance of balance and self-regulation. She sees in him a person who can prioritize not only his well-being, but also the health and harmony of the relationship. It's also worth noting that the act of hiding or controlling one's pleasures does not mean suppressing emotions or desires completely. Instead, it is about balancing enjoying the present moment and maintaining a sense of purpose. This dynamic allows a man to be fully present with his partner, giving attention and energy where it truly matters. It's the ability to enjoy life's pleasures without letting them overshadow or detract from the more meaningful pursuits that define a fulfilling and successful life. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to pleasure is not about denying oneself joy, but understanding moderation's power. A man who can enjoy his pleasures responsibly is a man who has mastered his impulses and who brings a sense of calm, purpose, and stability into his relationships. In the world of romance and dating, this quality is invaluable. Women are drawn to men with strong self-control, which signals emotional maturity and a clear understanding of what truly matters. It's not about rejecting pleasure altogether, but about embracing it in a way that enhances life rather than dominates it. 8. A man must hide his love. In the philosophy of Stoicism, love is not viewed through the lens of emotional dependency or possessiveness. Instead, it is seen as a mutual exchange grounded in respect, equality, and emotional self-sufficiency. A Stoic man approaches love with a sense of independence, maintaining his principles while nurturing a relationship that is rooted in balanced and rational emotions. For a Stoic, love is an act of respect. Unlike the commonly held view that love is about ownership or control, a Stoic man believes true love fosters mutual respect between partners. There is no room for jealousy or possessiveness. Instead, love is seen as an equal partnership, where both individuals maintain their autonomy and individuality while sharing a bond of emotional connection. Love is not about dominating or trying to change the other person, but valuing and supporting each other's growth. Emotional stability is another key aspect of how a Stoic man loves. His emotions do not dictate his actions, nor does he let love disrupt his principles or self-worth. Love is something he experiences without losing control over his feelings. A Stoic man recognizes that while love is a powerful force, it should never weaken his sense of self. He remains calm, composed, and grounded, no matter how deep his feelings may run. He does not let his love for another person consume him or cause him to lose sight of his values. One of the most important lessons that a Stoic man embraces when it comes to love is the notion of emotional independence. In a relationship, he doesn't rely on the other person to fulfill all his emotional needs. Rather than expecting his partner to complete him or make him happy, he brings his fulfillment into the relationship. His happiness is not contingent on the approval or presence of another person, but on his ability to maintain balance and stability within himself. This allows him to love freely and authentically, without placing undue pressure on his partner. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius is particularly relevant in this context. The best way to avenge yourself is not to become like the wrongdoer. This insight speaks to the Stoic belief that love, like life, should be lived with integrity and resilience. Reacting with anger or revenge is counterproductive if you are hurt or disappointed in love. Instead, you maintain your dignity, remain true to your principles, and show respect for others. Love is not about seeking revenge or allowing another person's actions to influence your emotional state. It is about staying calm and composed, even in the face of adversity. A Stoic man's approach to love is reflected in his actions rather than excessive emotional displays. Love does not need constant verbal affirmation or grand gestures for him. Instead, it is shown through consistent, thoughtful actions that demonstrate his commitment to the relationship. He may not always express his feelings outwardly, but his behavior, his loyalty, integrity, and respect speaks volumes. He understands that love is often demonstrated more in everyday actions than in dramatic declarations. Maintaining emotional balance is a critical takeaway for anyone seeking to cultivate a Stoic approach to love. While it's natural to experience intense feelings of affection and desire, it's equally important to recognize that true love requires a sense of emotional resilience and rationality. A Stoic man remains true to himself, acting by his values and principles while still capable of deep emotional connection. His love is not fleeting or impulsive, but relatively steady and enduring, rooted in mutual respect, emotional stability, and personal autonomy. In relationships, it's important to remember that love is lived through actions, not words. A Stoic man's love may not always be loud or dramatic, but it is steady, reliable, and sincere. He focuses on building a strong foundation of respect and equality where partners can grow and support each other without losing their identities. In doing so, he creates a lasting and meaningful bond grounded in the core principles of Stoicism: independence, emotional stability, and mutual respect. A Stoic man understands that self-mastery comes from within, and specific aspects of his life must remain his own, not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. Strength is not exposing every weakness, but facing adversity with quiet resilience. Mistakes are lessons meant for personal reflection, not for seeking validation. Dreams are best pursued with discipline rather than shared for fleeting approval. Emotions are acknowledged but never allowed to dictate actions. Some thoughts and pains are meant to be carried in solitude, for they shape character without demanding sympathy. Pleasures, when indulged without restraint, lead to dependence, and love, when clung to unthinkingly, weakens rather than strengthens. To embody true masculinity is to balance openness with discretion, to love without losing oneself, and to engage with the world from a place of wisdom rather than impulse. The most significant power lies in control, not over others, but oneself. What are your thoughts on these principles? Have you applied them in your own life? Share your experiences in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on Stoic philosophy and relationships.